Forget guessing point spreads on Sunday. Right now, there's a market where you can bet, will Trump win his Supreme Court tariff case for about 20 to 30 cents. If you nail it, you're looking at a clean 3 to 4 times. If you're wrong, it's a straight rug. Let's break down what the justices actually said, why the odds nuked, and whether this is a sharp long shot or a beautiful way to donate your bankroll. Welcome back to the channel, where we don't just read headlines, we trade them. We are opinions without masters. We look at Polymarket, Kalshi, all the prediction markets, and ask, what is the crowd actually pricing in? And is there a way to make money if they're off? If you like the idea of betting on real-world events the way people bet on sports, hit like and subscribe. This channel is basically ESPN for world events with odds.
US Supreme Court will begin hearing arguments on Donald Trump's foreign goods tariffs this week. The court will decide whether to uphold or strike down the president's.
What is this case? Let's de-jargon this. In 2025, Trump rolled out a giant package of reciprocal tariffs, import taxes of 10% to 50% on almost every country that trades with the US, saying foreign practices and fentanyl flows were a national emergency. Instead of using the usual trade laws, his team leaned on IEPA, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, a 1977 law meant for freezing assets and restricting trade with bad actors in real emergencies. A bunch of companies and states sued. Lower court said, IEPA doesn't give the president unlimited power to build a whole new tariff system. That's Congress' job. But they let the tariffs stay while appeals continued. So the case Trump v. OS selections plus a companion case, Learning Resources versus Trump, is now at the Supreme Court. Oral arguments happened on November 5th, and the ruling could come anytime, likely in early 2026 if they don't drop it in December. Why it matters? We're talking about hundreds of billions in tariff revenue over time. One estimate says keeping these tariffs could generate up to $3 trillion through 2035. If the court kills them, importers might be owed around $140 billion in refunds, and bond traders are already gaming out what that does to the Treasury market. Households would see some tariff relief if the IEEPA tariffs go away with no replacements, but think noticeable, not life-changing. The Tax Policy Center estimates effective tariff rates fall by roughly 8 percentage points on average. So yeah, not just a law nerd case. This is a money case and for traders, importers, and the US government. How odds were priced. Let's talk odds before the fireworks. When the Supreme Court first took the case, markets were not in Trump is doomed mode. On Kalshi, odds for Trump wins the tariffs case were up in the high 50s at one point, more likely than not. Coverage of the same theme across platforms had most traders treating a government win as something like a 40 to 60% event, depending on the day. Conservative-leaning court? National security framing. Historically broad view of presidential power in foreign affairs. Traders were basically saying, yeah, lower courts smack this down, but this Supreme Court might resurrect it. If you bought yes in that period, you were paying around 40 to 60 cents for a $1 payout, a pretty standard coin flippish legal bet. Oral arguments nuke the odds. Then oral arguments hit, and the odds fell down an elevator shaft. A Kalshi recap shows their Trump tariff yes contracts collapsed to 21%, down almost 36 points in a single day. A companion Kalshi market that predicts how many justices vote for Trump now sits at an average of about 2.8 justices, which implies something like a 6-3 or 7-2 loss. On the Polymarket side, the dedicated Supreme Court rules in favor of Trump's tariffs. Market is currently trading at about a 28% chance that the court ultimately backs Trump by the end of 2026. Another outlet summed it up. Across platforms, traders were only giving Trump about a 23% shot after hearing how skeptical the justices sounded. So, oral argument day was your classic information shock. Before. This might be a Trump-friendly court. Maybe they salvage this. After, wow, even the conservatives are grilling his lawyer. Cut those odds in half, then cut again. If you were short yes at 60 cents, that move felt very, very good. What's at stake? Now, who's actually affected by this ruling the markets are pricing? If Trump loses, the current favorite outcome. Importers and big retailers are lining up for refunds. MarketWatch and others estimate around $140 billion could be on the table for businesses like Costco if the tariffs are ruled illegal. Dozens of companies are filing protective lawsuits right now just to preserve their right to get paid back if the court kills IEEPA tariffs. Households' tariff relief trickles down a bit. The Tax Policy Center says if these IEEPA tariffs vanish with no replacements, average effective tariff rates drop about 8 points, cutting household tax burdens by roughly $1.4 billion overall. Bond market and Uncle Sam. The government loses a big revenue stream. If refunds go out fast, Treasury might need extra borrowing, which could mean a short-term spike in yields and volatility in the $30 trillion Treasury market. If Trump wins, the 20 to 28% long shot. Emergency powers precedent, upholding this use of IEEPA, basically tells future presidents, declare an emergency and you can rewire huge parts of the tariff system. Analysts warn it could normalize governing by emergency on everything from climate to tech. Tariffs and revenue tariffs stay high. The Tax Policy Center estimates IEEPA tariffs alone raised average tariff rates by double digits for some imports. The U.S. Trade Representative says they're currently pulling in around $200 billion in revenue using this law, and claims they could recreate that with other tools if they had to. So when you buy or short this market, you're indirectly betting on how aggressive the court wants emergency powers to be, whether they're comfortable triggering refund chaos, and how sticky Trump-style tariffs are in the long run. Bull case versus bear case. Let's translate the yes 25% price into trader brain. Bullish on yes, Trump wins. This court is conservative. They've been friendly to a strong executive in foreign affairs before. IEEPA is written super broadly. If you can shut down trade entirely during an emergency, a tariff looks like a smaller step. The government has a backup plan anyway. They're already talking about shifting to other laws if they lose. So maybe the court just shrugs and lets IEEPA stand. At approximately 25 cents, the math is, you risk 25 cents? Roughly a 3 to 4 times gross return if the court surprises everyone. The majority camp, the folks pricing this at 72 to 80% no, are leaning on the court's recent major questions doctrine. They've already smacked down big, novel uses of old laws for climate rules and student loan forgiveness. Massive emergency tariffs look very similar. Oral arguments that looked brutal for Trump's side. Even Barrett and Gorsuch sounded skeptical about using IEEPA as a stealth tax power. The fact that other tariff tools exist, like the Trade Act of 1974, makes it easier for the court to say, no, not this law, use the proper ones instead. So that camp looks at a 25-cent yes and goes, that's fair, maybe even rich. This is a long shot, not some hidden value bet. My lean, personally, I'm in the court strikes these IEEPA tariffs down camp. Not because of politics, but because lower courts already said this is beyond what Congress wrote. The justices know there are backup tariff tools and revenue options, and the refund, John-yield or bond chaos can be managed over time. To me, this doesn't look like a 50-50 coin flip. It looks like a 3 and 4 no, 1 and 4 yes type of situation, which, funny enough, is exactly where markets have drifted. Prediction markets are not magic. They can be thinly traded, overreact to headlines, or just be wrong. Contracts like these are all or nothing. If you're wrong, your stake goes to zero. Platforms like Polymarket and Kalshi involve real money and real risk. This video is not financial advice, legal advice, or political advice. You should only trade if you understand the rules, the fees, and the risk, and you're okay losing what you put in. So, big picture, the Supreme Court is about to decide whether Trump can use emergency powers under IEEPA to run a giant tariff program. Before oral arguments, traders were treating a Trump win as basically a coin flip. After arguments, Kalshi's odds cratered to approximately 21%. Polymarket sits around 28%. And a justice count market is telling you to expect maybe 2 to 3 justices on Trump's side. My personal read. The yes side is not free money, but it is a clean, high upside long shot. I still think the court leans hard toward striking this down and reining in emergency economic powers. But if they don't, the people holding 20 to 28 cent yes tickets will be very, very happy. Now I want to hear from you. Are these odds too low on Trump? Is this a mispriced long shot? Or are they still too high and the court is almost guaranteed to say no here? Drop your thesis in the comments. Tell me if you're on Team Yes, Team No, or Team I only bet on sports. But this is kind of fun. You got value from this breakdown? Hit like, smash subscribe, and share this with a friend who loves both Supreme Court drama and EV calculations.